Resilience means having the strength to hold an umbrella for someone else, even when you're still wet from your own storms. Welcome to Relate, conversations that explore how resilience and empathy lead to authentic and trustworthy engagements. From the complexities of romance and parenting to lifelong friendships and community leadership, we're breaking down the blueprints that keep us connected. Hey, it's May. I have thoughts on a lot of things, and today we are looking at what it actually means to build a village. I would like to shift our focus outward. We already talked about romantic and parenting life, so today we are talking about something else that matters, which is community leadership and service. Because a community doesn't just happen by accident, it is designed by the people who choose to show up. If you've listened to my story so far, you know that for 15 years, it has been just me and my son here in the United States. Being away from family for a decade and a half is pretty hard. Both of my parents come from really big families, and back home in the Philippines, we used to have family reunions to celebrate every New Year with over 100 people attending. And that's just on my mom's side. We literally had to rent an entire resort just to accommodate everybody. Going from big family reunions to celebrating New Year's with just me and my son was a massive shock to my system. I deeply long for that sense of family, that noise, that collective warmth, and because I didn't have it built in here, I had to create it. But my drive to give back isn't just about filling a void, it's a trait I inherited. I grew up in a household where community service was just the norm. My mom worked tirelessly in a business with my dad, and she would fund his passion projects for the community. My dad is the president of an amateur radio association, and whenever there's a calamity like a typhoon or there was a massive fire or flooding, he was out there on the front lines doing relief work. Between church and my dad's examples, giving back became a permanent part of my DNA. I literally cannot stop myself from joining activities or events to serve. It's built into my software. I can't get it out of my system. Over the last 15 years, that drive has led me into some incredible spaces. Back in 2020, I was incredibly honored to be a finalist for the very first Volunteer of the Year award by the Austin Chamber of Commerce Generous Business Awards. But the award isn't the point. The frameworks of connection are. When I look at my blueprint of volunteering, it spans every age and stage of life. For instance, I was there for the young, vulnerable ones. From 2017 to 2020, I sat with grade school students through communities and schools, teaching them math in English. Around the same time, I served as a seedling mentor, sitting across the table from young kids who had incarcerated parents, children who, through no fault of their own, were dealing with heavy, broken family structures. I've also leaned into the next generation of tech leaders, teaching high schoolers web programming through Code to College and working with Girlstart to keep young girls engaged in STEM. I've even gone back to the university level, mentoring Filipino and Asian college students at the University of Texas right here in Austin. And then there's my professional community, whether it's serving as the director of professional development for the Filipino Young Professionals of Austin, Texas, chairing committees for the women at Silicon Labs, or serving globally on the CompTIA Certification Advisory Committee. Every single one of these roles required the exact same thing: resilience and empathy. All of these volunteering activities are also centered on learning and education. That's really my passion. When I was a college student, I was teaching little kids in church during Sunday school. Even my first job out of college was teaching college students math and engineering classes. And when I think about why education and sharing knowledge is such a deep, unshakable passion of mine, I always go back to Proverbs 4:13, which says, "Hold on to instruction, do not let it go. Guard it well, for it is your life." To me, sharing knowledge isn't just about transferring data or teaching someone how to write lines of code. It is about handing someone a blueprint for their life. When you teach a child how to read or you mentor a young woman in STEM, you are giving them the ultimate tool of empowerment. You are giving them a structure that no one can ever take away from them. But doing this work successfully requires an immense amount of empathy. As a former professor and a longtime mentor, I've learned that you cannot just throw information at someone and expect them to grow. You have to step into their shoes, understand their frustrations, and meet them exactly where they are at. And it takes resilience too. It takes patience to stand in front of a classroom or sit across a table from a struggling student and refuse to give up on them, even when the lesson is hard. Teaching is an act of love. It is about investing your own time and energy to build a solid foundation under someone else's feet so they can stand tall and build their own forever. And that leads me right back to how we build the same resilience on a larger scale. When you are mentoring a child whose parent is incarcerated or a student struggling with math, you cannot show up with a rigid script. You have to step entirely out of your own head and meet them exactly where they are. You have to ask, what do they need to feel safe and seen today? But here is the hard truth about community work. Whether it's corporate philanthropy or organizing a professional summit, it takes an immense amount of resilience. It is often thankless. You spend months organizing committees, evaluating abstracts, and donating your personal resources. On the day of the event, people will complain, people will drop out, or they simply won't see the unseen hours you poured in to whatever it is that you are working on. I work a highly demanding corporate job. I am raising a teenage son. I am writing a book. My plate is overflowing. If I didn't have the empathy for human nature that I inherited from my dad and a deep resilience for whatever life brings that I learned from my mom, I would have walked away years ago. Resilience means having the strength to hold an umbrella for someone else, even when you're still wet from your own storms. So I want to challenge us today with a direct self audit. Modern life has made us incredibly isolated. We hide behind our screens, scroll through social media, and mistake likes and RSVPs for actual connection. But true community requires your physical presence, your time, and your effort. You don't need to join 12 committees or teach coding to make a difference, but you do need to ask yourself, are you actively contributing to the architecture of a village, or are you just consuming what others build? If you are lonely, if you are missing that big family feeling, the fastest way to find it is to create it for someone else. Build the village you wish you had, step into service, help a neighbor, or mentor a student who is a few steps behind you. I want to hear from you. How are you showing up for your community? What legacy of giving back did you inherit? Reach out and share your perspective with me. Thank you for tuning into Relate Conversations. Go out there, practice empathy for your neighbors, build resilience for your village, and design an authentic engagement today. I'm May, and I'll talk to you next Tuesday.